I'm Alice Evan, and I live for adventure. On the road less travelled is where I want to be. Some of the most remote places left on Earth are only accessible by sea, so I need to learn how to sail. And I need a boat. Like the explorers of the past, I'll leave my home and journey across the water. See you later, New Zealand! And out there, in all that blue, as captain of my own ship, I'll be tested like never before. My course is set for the far-flung islands of the South Pacific, to discover the isolated people, raw beauty, and the secrets of those forgotten shores. Let the voyage begin. Can't explain the excitement when you come to a new destination, a place you've never been before, but a place that you've read about, a place you've seen images of, and so few people get to go there. I'm getting pretty far from home now. I'm on my way to the French territory of Wallis and Futuna. It's made up of the Wallis Island group and the Horn Islands of Futuna and Alofi. This is Futuna on the horizon. There's two sperm whales just about 20 metres off the side of the boat. And they're just resting there. Amazing. You think you're in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden there's these surprises that just come up all the time. Wow, there's several of them here. There's very deep water underneath me here, and this is probably their feeding grounds. They can dive down to around 3,000 feet, which is like a kilometre underwater. Look at that, they're diving now. Pretty good welcome to the island. Wallis and Futuna has been an overseas French territory since 1959. So the head of state is the President of France. It's kind of a strange setup to get your head round. Effectively, I'm in France right now, but at the same time, I'm in the Central Pacific, and I'm in one of three kingdoms. There are three kings here which govern three separate kingdoms, two on Futuna and one on Wallis. I hate to say it, but a year ago, I'd never even heard of the islands Wallis and Futuna. And yet here I am, in France, in the middle of the Pacific, in one of three kingdoms. Feels good. There are only about 15,000 people in Wallis and Futuna, and most of them are subsistence farmers. Traditionally, they don't grow food for sale or export. They grow what they need and trade with their neighbours. The locals are getting ready for their annual celebration feast to honour St Michael and are busy preparing the food. I'm meeting up with Joe Ivor, my interpreter, who's going to show me one of the island's largest plantations. Is this a staple diet of the Futunans?
That's the main food. Potato and fish, beach and chicken.
So is this tallow shared between all of the people from the villages in this kingdom?
During the celebration, they have to pull out the tallow and they share all the tallow to the people who come in.
For the celebration on Thursday, it's going to be quite a big event. How many tallow would be picked for that event?
Plenty.
Are the kings going to be there?
The king will be there.
Is there a chance to meet the kings before that?
Yes, we have the chance to meet the king.
Okay, so just put my best clothes on,
yes,
and I shake his hand. I don't bow or...
It's up to you. It's up to you if you want to bow, but the main thing is to shake hand to him and say hello.
Do I bring anything as a gift, or do I offer him anything?
The brandy.
So bring the king a bottle of brandy.
Brandy, yes.
All right. That's like my ticket.
Yes.
I'm on my way to meet the king of Singave. I'm pretty stressed out, really. I've never met royalty before. I'm told that the king may not even say a word the whole time during the meeting. I've got to speak through my translator, and my translator then has to speak through a spokesperson. And then the spokesperson then relays the message to the king. I've just arrived at the King of Singavai's home. I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting me into your home. I really appreciate it. I feel very humbled that you've invited me here. There's so much more I want to learn and find out about, but I'm not allowed to ask directly to the king.
Satula speaks on behalf of His Majesty Katana, the word of thanks for coming to Futuna Island.
The pleasure is all mine. Can you ask the king's representative what troubles are the island and the people facing in today's world? And what challenges does he see for the future for the islands?
Le potu whakaari ki o, la ki eva ki tuitaloke ka no whewhe la liksau. Me whewhea ki la le tio au.
Kai, whakasara ko ki te ia. O whaingata ala na nofu mātaura e whimasawa tō ki ai. E ngari peku ilo ia whai rātou. I futuna nei, o maua rātou. Al koroa mauinga na ai i lartai le ia. O futuna.
From what I understand, there's been some very valuable mineral resources which have been found offshore here in Wallace and Futuna by the French, and there's a possibility for them to be mined in the future. On one hand, it'll bring infrastructure, it'll bring jobs for the young people, but on the other hand, it'll bring some negatives as well. First and foremost is the risk to the environment, a big part of what they rely on to survive. How do they embrace this globalised world without losing their culture? That's as rare and as precious as any mineral under the sea can be. Joe's introduced me to his friend Patello. He's going to share with me some of the darker oral history passed down through the generations here on the island. Very few Futunans come up here. In fact, they try to avoid it. Can you tell me what this place is?
Yo ngane le nei mauinga tadi ko ngane le nei na kai tangata i ria lakanga.
They used before to kill the people and cook it from here and take it to one of the high chief in their side.
So what you're saying is this was actually an oven, but an oven specifically for cooking people in?
For him to eat, the human body.
Cannibalism is a recurring theme throughout the history of the South Pacific. What was the belief with consuming other humans? Was it a food thing or taking on the other person's spirit?
Yo ko kai tangata la i ria lakanga la.
But first of all for the food, and second is your spirit and the power.
It's not a picture that's easy to imagine and not a picture that you really want to imagine.
During that time they went to war and they killed the people of Alofi and they started to bring them over and cook it and eat it here.
So some of the people from Alofi may have even been cooked in this oven?
Until when they... No more people inside in the island.
So nobody lives on the island since then?
Only one.
Patiko ki te ia nene le historia la fifia
As a Futunian, see that we are part of the history of the Pacific.
It makes it a very powerful place. Alofi is just a little island off the southern end of Futuna. Many of the local farmers come across to the island several times a week to tend their crops and gardens because there isn't enough flat, fertile land back on the mainland of Futuna. I've met up with a guy, Tallo, and he's been kind enough to bring me across to the island. He speaks French, English and Futunan, which is really handy. The real reason I'm here is to meet the lone man that lives on this island. I'm told that it's this direction, but that's all I know. But I'm really fascinated to learn why he lives here. I'm fascinated to learn how he lives here. Ale, are you the man that lives on this island?
Yes.
How are you? So, is it you live here?
Yes.
Yeah? You sleep here?
Don't miss la. La pala.
Okay. Talu, can you ask what makes him live on this island alone?
For him, he said, this island is his paradise. He can sleep, stay here, to do nothing, or to crops or fishing. He came here to give his whole life to go.
I would love to see how he lives and how he survives on the island. Is that possible? Artelimo has lived on the island for 21 years by himself. It's kind of a self-imposed exile. Like almost all Fortunans, he's a Catholic. Artelimo sees his solitary life here on a lofi as an offering to God. He's 71 years old now, and amazing to think that he's carved out a life for himself on the island here. And he lives in a little home that he's built himself. He brings very little from the mainland, just sugar and coffee. He just lives on what he can grow on the island. This is the path to his garden. You can see there's a well-worn path, and he walks this every day to tend his crops. You can see it opening up just ahead, so I think we're nearly there. This is all your garden. It's huge. We're digging for yams. Pretty deep, huh? Yep, it's coming loose. Got it! Yeah. Oh, it's huge. Ufi. I couldn't even see anything on the surface, but he knew exactly where to dig. This guy's 71 years old, and he's running rings around me. We've walked up this track about 45 minutes to his garden, and his garden is massive. Just shows you how fit he is. There's not an ounce of fat on him. Amazing. Really inspiring meeting somebody like this.
That's our traditional custom. When somebody from another village or another kingdom or another country come, so we have to give him something. So that's what he's doing.
So these yams that we dug up are a gift for me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so kind of him. Can I help? On here? Hello. So he's tying the yams together with twine, which is essentially vines that he's just pulled out of the bush. And now he's tying two of the yams on one end of the stick, and I presume these other two are going to go on the other. And then basically we'll be able to carry them out over our shoulders. I'll put my finger on the knot. I'm very thankful for the whale in the middle of the garden. This is his shelter, and he comes here and he'll rest in the heat of the day when it's just too hot to garden. Out in the sun is probably 30 degrees right now, and sometimes he said that he will even sleep here overnight if he's gardening one day and he wants to continue the next. Where I'm from, I go to the grocery store once a week and I stock my house full of food. If I'm hungry, I go to the refrigerator or the pantry. For him, he has a 45-minute walk to his garden. I mean, ignoring the fact that he had to grow the vegetables in the first place. For me? I don't smoke, but all right, I do today. No watch.
Yo, watch your gila.
The sun is your watch.
You for gila. Chunga oyo.
Just to think this man carries everything he eats back to his home on his shoulders like this. I'll be doing this for about 5 minutes and already I'm ready for a break. This just makes my life back home seem so easy. I know it probably seems like I'm a bit of a wimp, but these things are just full of water. I kept on telling myself, if Atalimo can do this, I can do it. So I have a gift for you. I'd like to give you one of my t-shirts. And it's clean, so it's good. But it is used.
Malo.
It's for you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You want to try it on?
Yeah.
You.
It looks very good. It's been great to meet you. Thank you so much. You take care. I'm just on my way to my next appointment, which is to meet the king of Allen on the other side of Futuna. Another bottle of brandy. Sweating. Feeling a bit nervous. It's a real honour to be invited to the King's place, and it's interesting. It's far from a King's palace, what you might expect. I mean, this is a pretty normal home here on the island. It's okay.
The chief will answer for the king.
Can the king or the chief remember any stories from their ancestors that were told to them when they were children?
Maua la tau ria le historia Futuna nei, ria kaututu ria me alofira.
Kai patemile nei kui ai vai ai mafuri fo o Futuna nei.
You still remember those kind of stories. But the problem here in Futuna, we don't write down all the stories.
So as time goes on, are those stories being lost, those legends?
Yes.
Kolena hoi tatou kamata.
Start to write down all the story.
So what they're doing now is they're starting to write some of these stories and legends down on paper so that they'll be locked down in history. Does the king like to fish? Would he like to come fishing on our yacht?
Maria Lalixau lagi matao. He's not allowed to go out and fishing, otherwise he might...
Damn. It really surprised me. Their answer was not, no, I don't want to. His spokesperson said, no, he wasn't able to go. So there's obviously quite a few restrictions on the king, what he can and can't do. I have one more question for the king. When I'm here in Futuna, what would be the number one thing that I should do to experience the Futunan culture?
To know about the culture of Futuna, you have to go to the people. That's why tonight, the celebration of the feast day of St. Michael.
Thank you for your time. Tonight, the celebration of St. Michael begins. I'm lucky enough to be invited and experience this important part of Futunan culture. This is a kava ceremony, which is something I'm encountering throughout the Pacific Islands. Kava has anaesthetic properties and it kind of numbs the lips and numbs the tongue and makes you a little bit groggy. This is the kava plant here, and it's got the roots on it, but this is the main stem of the kava plant. The kava plant is cut up into small chunks and then put into a really large mortar and pestle, and then it's pounded and pounded and pounded by hand until it's just a pulp. And then that pulp is sieved through a very fine cloth and water is mixed, and basically that makes your kava drink. The difference I see here when they're making the kava drink is they actually use the whole plant to make it, rather than what I saw in Tonga and Fiji. They just use the roots. Tonight is a kick-off for the celebration of Saint Michel, which is giving thanks to Saint Michael for protecting the village over the last year. I've never seen so much kava before, and every time it's handed out in a particular order, to the high chiefs first, and then so on down the line. I'm pretty much last. This really is a blend of cultures, tradition and religion. The men over there are singing about their history, they're singing about their legends, and they're singing about problems and issues on the island.
Yep.
The men have started dancing now, and some of these dances are war dances from the olden days. They would have been performed before going into battle.
Feeling pretty groggy at this point, and I just remembered we all have to be up in the morning for church. I'm heading to church this morning to watch the celebration mass for St. Michael.
To come in and have this experience this morning, it's just gives you a real feeling of being on this island, a feeling of the local people and a feeling of the local culture. And this is how they give thanks to St. Michael, who is seen as a protector of this village. And every year, at the end of September, they have this celebration. It starts with mass in the morning, and then it goes on to kava drinking, always kava drinking. And then it goes on to a feast.
We give it the pigs to the St. Michael this morning.
Does the king get a pig?
Yes, the biggest one. And you, of course, you have your small pigs there.
To take back to the boat?
Yes.
Have you seen how small my refrigerator is on the boat?
Oh,
It's very small.
you can cut it in 2 pieces.
Give my thanks to the people from the village. I'm very humbled and touched that they would give me this offering.
You're welcome.
Oh, it's heavy.
All right. See you next time.
See you next time, mate.
Next time.
I'm on my way to Wallace to one day sail away, but before I leave, there's one thing I want to do. I want to say goodbye to Atalemo on the island of Alofi. I hope he's hungry. Hello, I brought a gift for you. A pig.
Oi, my God. Merci beaucoup.
You're most welcome. The taro is from Singave and the pig is from Alo. It was given to me by the chief and I want to give it to you.
Oh, well.
All right. I have something else for you. Another little gift. Cheers. The inside of the carcass has been stuffed with banana leaves and also volcanic stones. And I guess the volcanic stones have helped to cook it. I didn't even realise they were in there. No wonder it was so heavy when I was carrying it. I imagine it's been a while since he's had pig. And he told me that there are no pigs on the island, so he can't hunt for them. I like your machete.
Nga inatire nei ko tuakai aleni kau tangatala. Au mula tu katoa ngaria malaela. O ki tō toka tō muelanga, Sleep? Tona?
Yeah. He's invited me to stay at his house overnight. He said I can sleep there.
Marioki.
I really had to come back to this island and say goodbye. Not only goodbye to the island, but goodbye to Etalemo. In a way, it's a goodbye to Fortuna. Really got a window into the life and the culture here. Oh, still on fire.
Futuna lo ala. Ma ofa mo le inachi. Ura fa ile Afrika sai fa ia. Matolo ani pa. Futuna la. Malo ko fa sele ni mo to mo uriai. Amana mo ala mo la mari ma oki. Sele Futuna sa.
Thank you for the food.
Mari Futuna. Kaili mo fa aki fa ila to aso furi.
In Fortuna, we eat with hands.
Mari oki. Ma kona fa ili fa awa. Mana mina ma fa mua. Oki. Sa fa ilo totono mai gilalo. Okay.
Atalemo, would you like some wine? Yeah? Biggest thing I've got to do right now is to make sure these mosquitoes can't eat me.
Anola.
And Fortunan. Anula.
Anola.
Good night.
Anola. Mo.
All right. See you in the morning. Thank you.
Pongi.
I feel like I'm a teenager again. To sleep over. I don't think I'll have the same conversations though as I probably did when I was about 13.
Mi fale che sa mo fa muta u I fa fune. E se mo che che sa mo fa ta u I fa fune. Bonsoir. No fola.
I'm watching Fortuna slip away behind me, and I'm taking with me some great memories. And now I go deeper into the Pacific. Another day's sail north. I get to see the other half of Wallace and Fortuna. I've come to Lake Lalu. It's an almost perfectly round hole in the Earth's crust. A lake that was created by the volcanic activity which formed these islands. The cliffs around the lake are about 30 metres high and the water's about 80 metres deep below. I've been told there's a little trail that you can get down, so hopefully I can get down with my dive gear. Alright, let's get the gear. There's this little track that zigzags its way down. It's pretty steep and it's rained overnight, so it's pretty slippery. So I'm going down with a bit of a light load first. And I'm going to set up the ropes to get over some little vertical drop-offs. So This is a combination of diving and climbing. Got the first load down the bottom. Now just my dive gear. It's going to be slightly harder coming down those steep banks just with the extra weight hanging off my back. Whew. We just invented a new sport, scuba climbing. These rocks are pretty slippery. But anyway, almost there. If I fall now, I'll end up in the lake. Nothing like a bit of rope burn early in the morning. Well, made it. Now I'm here and I'm right at the lake edge, looking into this green inky water. Definitely a little apprehensive. There's a legend about this lake here in Wallace. Apparently there's a lake monster that lives in here, and that lake monster is a giant eel. And as the story goes, somebody came to look for him once and he was leaning out over one of these trees throwing coconut shavings in the water to try and attract this monster to the edge so that he could see it, and he ended up falling in the lake and the lake monster ate him. Let's hope we don't encounter the lake monster today. So on that note, let's see what's down there.
Descending down here is really spooky. There's so much debris down here. It's getting dark very quickly. Only at about 10 metres, and the visibility through the water is about 1 metre at this point. You can start to taste the sulphur which is in this water, and it just reminds you that this is a volcanic crater. And I've got to be very careful when I'm down here. I can't go too deep because I'm absorbing some of that sulphur, and you can just taste it in the air that you're breathing. There's all of these branches, trees and rocks that have fallen. Got to be careful not to get tangled up. What? Now I'm starting to get paranoid. I just bumped into a branch. I thought it was a really big eel. If there was ever going to be a lake monster, it's going to be in a place like this. When you're down here, your mind starts to play tricks on you. Mysterious shapes loom out of the darkness as they're silhouetted against the light above. The taste of sulphur just gets stronger in your mouth. With every breath I can taste it. 40 metres now, and there's no sign of the bottom flattening out. This lake drops down to 80 metres. That would be unsafe for me to go any deeper. This sulphur is too strong. Oh, that scared the hell out of me. That guy's a pretty big eel. Not as big as the ones in the legends, but big enough all right. Oh, that made my heart jump. Look at this in here. I've just found some ammunition. This looks like 303 ammunition left over from the Second World War. This is a bit of history of Wallace right in front of me. There were 6,000 troops stationed on Wallace, and it was used as a training ground before the troops went away to fight in other parts of the Pacific. Rumour is that at the end of the war, munitions were started into the lake here. I've just found some more. This is 50 caliber. That's a big ass bullet. Wow. These were bullets for firing at aeroplanes, tanks, jeeps, that sort of thing. It's an amazing part of the history of the island, as well as the greater human history that happened here on Wallis. This history can stay here.
The King of Wallis has heard that I've met with the two kings of Futuna, so he's requested an audience with me, or rather I've been granted an audience with him. So another island, another kingdom, and another bottle.
As the major issue for the future is to try and keep the young people on island. We need economic, sustainable development. All the authorities are trying to find some solutions.
As I understand it, mineral resources have been found in the waters around Wallis and Futuna. If those mineral resources were to be extracted, does the King see that as a positive or a negative thing for the people of Wallis?
They are expecting future mission of scientists and environmental people to come and explain to the people about the real impacts, exploitation of those minerals. If there is no real negative impact on the submarine environment and on the people, they would accept it for the sake of developing the islands. His Majesty would like us to see the Tongan ruins and the major places that can tell us of our origins.
Thank you for making me feel so welcome. On the southern tip of Wallis, and deep within the jungle, there's a fortress dating back to Tonga's invasion of the island. I've met up with Harper, who's an expert in the history of Wallis, and he's leading me in. It's very thick and it's hard to get to, and it's miles from anywhere. And so I have Harper and his machete to lead the way. We're just hacking our way into the site of a Tongan fortress from around the 15th century. You know, walking past here, you would never even know that this was here. And yet, just with a little bit of hacking and clearing, all of a sudden this path materializes out of the jungle.
We say in Polynesia that chiefs were taboo. Everything they touch would become taboo. So that's why people at that time built up this Alahu Eiki. Only the nobles would come on the path.
It's such a mysterious place to come and discover. You walk through the thick bush, and then all of a sudden these walls just loom up out of the undergrowth. Humans have laid these by hand hundreds of years ago, and you just can't help but walk around a place like this and imagine the people that once lived here. Imagine some of the things that went on here.
According to the oral tradition, here we have the residence of Kalafilia, who is the chief of this village. Ohopulu, his daughter, was on the way to give birth. And Kalafilia, seeing that she was going to give birth at night, he decided to take 8 Tongans. He sacrificed them. He cut their head, and the grease of the brain acted like oil for the torches.
They sacrificed 8 Tongans to give light because his daughter was giving birth that night.
So this is why we call this site the Malama Tangata, the site of the human torches.
I feel like an archaeologist peeling back the layers of this story. one bite at a time. This site is called Malama Tangata. Malama means light and Tangata means man, and this signifies the tale about the human torches which were used here at the birth of the chief's grandson.
The daughter of the Kalafilia gave birth here, according to the oral tradition.
And the child that was born, did he grow up to be a chief?
Yes, he took the name of Alokuaulu. It means the son who came to light to the world.
And is that name referring to the night that he was born with the human torches?
Yes, connection with the human torches.
To come to a place like this, it's really powerful. I know it was a long time ago, but these stones still tell the history. They tell of a time and a civilization that was once here. And there are some pretty gruesome tales. Tonga was going through a period of expansion, and they'd regularly send out war parties to conquer new land. And they came to the island of Wallace, or Uvea as it was known back then, and they conquered half of the island, pushed the indigenous people to the north, and they claimed the south. And this fortress is one of the fortresses they built on the island to protect themselves from attack.
Uven people from the north, they wanted to be free from Tongan, and they came down to the south from the west, and the battle took place here, called the Battle of Molihina. The Uven began to take control of the island. This place is very important for us. So every Uven and even Futunan, they have one part of their history beginning here in Utulevi.
Wallace and Futuna. Two little wee tiny pinpricks on a chart of the Pacific. And to take those two little pinpricks and actually sail here on a boat and discover these islands and discover what they have to offer and discover their history, their culture, meet their people. This is a beautiful place, and I can't help thinking I'm seeing it at a critical time right now. Who knows what it'll be like 10 years from now. The rarity of something makes it valuable. And so on one hand you have these natural resources which are out here under the sea, waiting to be mined and drilled and excavated. But then on the other hand, to the people that live here, the rare thing and the valuable thing is their home, their culture. And I couldn't agree more.